Welcome to Roil Road, where we ask the question, what road are we all on and how do we navigate it? Today, Brian Martinez and I will be talking about Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter for the price of $43 billion, which, as we are filming today, is a story that broke this morning. The timing is fortuitous, because today we at Roil also just completed a short video explaining how Roil offers a new model in place of traditional post and share systems like Twitter. The huge $43 billion price tag is not for Twitter's technology, which isn't worth much, but is for Twitter's network of users who, in a way, have made themselves captive to Twitter's walled garden. The difference with Roil's model is that users are free to view and post to the whole internet. This topic is the reason Roil exists, and was the subject of some of the first videos we ever made. If you want to know more, here's a 5-minute video on how Roil uses the concept of interconnection to solve the problem of tech monopolies. And here is a 30-minute deep dive into how existing laws drive today's internet towards post and share monopolies. These videos may have a different vibe from today's. Remember, they're some of the first I ever made. Anyway, here is our new 3-minute explanation, after which I will discuss Elon Musk's Twitter offer with Brian Martinez. Today's internet is under the domination of a handful of tech giants. The power of these platforms lies in their huge network of users who mutually attract each other, those who post and share content, and those who enjoy that content. This triggers a snowballing network effect where everybody wants to be where everybody already is. New competitors struggle to gain traction because they can only offer a fraction of the content and a fraction of the audience of the established giant. Some startups have tried to find market niches based on political orientation, but this is a poor solution. The real problem is that the post and share network model inevitably results in monopolies. Roil presents a new model. Using RSS, a foundational but underutilized internet technology, Roil collects data from across the internet and presents it to you in a thoroughly modern and feature-rich way. Because of RSS, Roil, from the start, has a vast library of content. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and websites. You simply choose your favorite content creators and personalize Roil so that it shows you the content that you want. The Roil community shares, organizes, and discusses what they follow, using all the features you've come to expect from a modern platform. Roil's ability to start with a vast content library does come with a limitation. We do not show images because we respect all creators' intellectual property rights, and we will not show any creative content without their permission. But we can show you what you need, such as the title, creator name, and when it was released. The full experience is just a click away. Within Roil, creators can claim their feeds and grant us permission to better showcase their content, such as including images. For these creators, Roil serves as an insurance policy against the host where they post their content. If the creator chooses to relocate to a different platform for posting, Roil lets them bring their subscribers with them from the old feed to the new one. You may ask, how do we know that Roil won't ever become a monopoly that abuses its power? The answer to this lies in Roil's new model. For the very reason that Roil is able to start with a rich library of content, a new competitor to Roil would have this same advantage. Our window of opportunity to solve the problem of post and share internet giants is closing. Much of the internet still supports RSS, but that proportion is diminishing, largely because platforms recognize that RSS diminishes their hold over their network of users. Users should insist that platforms support RSS. I created Roil because there were lots of different content sources I wanted to keep up with, but who has the time to manually rotate across lots of different web pages? If we insist that platforms distribute enough information for users to stay aware of posting activity without having to live on their website, then it is possible for people to receive updates about new content from multiple sources all in one place. Roil is a better way to enjoy content online. Power should lie with creators and users, not with the tech platform that connects them. I hope you will be part of the solution. I hope to see you on Roil. Now, let's get this show on the road. Brian, hello. Good to see you as always. I hope you're well.
Good. I am well. Thank you for asking. Yeah, well, really interesting times we're living in right now. Really interesting times.
That's certainly right. There's, as we are recording now, there's breaking news today that Elon Musk has made a essentially cash offer to buy all of Twitter. And that is just really fortuitous timing because we have also just completed the sort of video explaining the thesis for why Roil is the right app at the right time today, that it takes care of the problem of internet network effect monopolies. And the audience will have just seen that. I know you've seen that video. Let me go ahead and cover a little bit of the news that's out. This is a very developing story, and I'm sure that in the coming days there will be much more out. But as of today, here's what we know. So this is from Wired Magazine UK, and I think that as I was exploring, Googling, trying to find stories on this today, it is interesting to me that this is the UK version because other takes that I've seen seem to be more locked into the US political question of, well, what will this mean in terms of how Twitter sways the political discussion that if Elon Musk gains control. This one, I think, is a little bit more neutral. So it communicates, Elon Musk has triggered a battle for the future of Twitter, and Twitter's board has to accept Musk's $41 billion offer or make a counterattack. Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for $41 billion, according to a regulatory finding on Thursday. The surprise move has been labeled by some experts as a whim to gain attention, while others think it's a game changer that will end with him taking over the entire company. The Tesla CEO owns 9.2% of the social media site and is its biggest shareholder, and he's offered to buy the remaining percentage of the company for $54.20 per share, a 38% premium on the price before his investment in the company was announced on April 5th. Funny, it's Elon Musk, so he got the number 420 in there somewhere, $54.20. He is a lover of memes. Now, I think that his explanation for that is it's a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy rather than to cannabis, but that is sort of beside the point. Now, some analysis that they offer from this guy, Dan Ives, is, he says, quote, "Ultimately, we believe this soap opera will end with Musk owning Twitter after his aggressive, hostile takeover of the company." Dan Ives, a tech analyst at investment firm Wedbush Securities, wrote in a note published after the announcement, "It would be hard for any other bidders or consortium to emerge, and the Twitter board will be forced to accept this bid and/or run an active process to sell Twitter. However, this unsolicited bid, which is not a formal hostile takeover, is not guaranteed that Musk will take over the company. Anyone could walk away from the offer," says Timothy Galpin, senior lecturer in strategy and innovation at Oxford Business School. "It may be that he decides to back out, or Twitter shareholders don't approve it. A deal's never done until it's closed." Okay, so this is projecting some belief that he's likely to take it, but it's not a foregone conclusion. Musk, in his letter expressing the offer, did mention free speech, and this has people worried that if he takes over the platform, he could roll back some of the platform's measures against hate speech. The article goes on, quote, "I would argue there would be a negative impact on democracies worldwide if someone like Elon Musk owned Twitter," end quote, says Christopher Bowsey, founder of Bot Sentinel, a service that tracks inauthentic behavior on Twitter. "Musk's absolutist approach to free speech would open the door to people like Donald Trump, who was banned from Twitter in January 2021 for stoking the insurrection on the US Capitol through social media, to return to the site. Twitter could become a cesspool of mis and disinformation with real-world consequences," Bowsey says. "One reason Musk may want to buy the business, if he's serious about it, is because it acts as a megaphone for his own views. He is a social platform communicator," says Kerry Cooper, a business professor at Manchester Business School. "He's a business maverick in all sorts of ways. He's been fairly successful in his business ventures," which is like, you can tell this is not an Elon fan, like an understatement of the century. Elon Musk has been fairly successful in his business ventures. I can understand him wanting a communication platform. It allows him to express his views in a way that fits with his personality. The big question, how likely is it that Musk's bid will be accepted? Reading the very sparse tea leaves that are available at the time this is written, the article writes, Intraday trading on April 14th, which dropped below the open price, indicates that the market doesn't believe Musk is likely to pull it off. Well, that is a few hours of data. Musk's 38% premium is about in the range of what an average premium is paid for companies, which tends to be between 30 and 40% above current value. So it would be towards the higher end of the normal range. And this is according to Galpin. It's not a slam dunk to guarantee that enough shareholders would approve an offer at that level. Now, it's been interesting to see some of the immediate reactions that you see here, an emphasis on the idea that that there's a danger somehow if there would be maybe too much free speech. And I think that has colored further some other initial takes. One that I'll share is Jim Cramer's initial take is that Twitter's board has no choice but to reject Elon Musk's offer. And this came out relatively early today. So this is Jim Cramer sort of trying to set a tone for how people might view this action. So according in the article, Twitter's board has, quote, no choice but to reject Elon Musk's offer to buy the company at $54.20 per share, according to CNBC's Jim Cramer. They have no choice to reject it, Cramer said Thursday on Squawk on the Street. If they say we accept, they're phony and they're not phonies. Now, if you listen to his analysis, the center point of it is that Musk had included in his letter that this price point, $54.20, is his best and final offer. He's not going above that. And Cramer, I think, focuses unduly on this language that it's his best and final offer. And what Cramer is essentially saying is that, well, this couple paragraphs of letter that Elon Musk has written, that's not enough to do a deal of this magnitude. And so they're not going to accept that letter itself as, okay, we're going to sell you the company. And I think he's being, reading between the lines, somewhat disingenuous here, that in a deal, in any deal, there are a lot of terms to negotiate. In a deal of this magnitude, there are many, many terms. Price is the most important term. And when Musk is saying this is his final offer, I don't think it would be reasonable to assume that he means, yep, take it based on this few paragraphs of letter and nothing else. I'm not going to say more on the matter, but that he was talking about price there. And so I think that what Cramer really thinks is, well, this will be an initiation of some negotiation process, and he's framing that as though it's rejecting the offer. That would be my assessment of sort of what he's trying to say there. And then another article recently out from CNBC talks about Musk's vision for Twitter. That was Musk did a TED Talk interview today, and I think that some of this is from that. The article writes, Musk laid out his vision for Twitter should he be successful in gaining control. I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech, he said, likening Twitter to a de facto town square. He acknowledged a need for some level of content moderation, like around explicit calls to violence, and said the service would have to comply with the laws of the countries in which it operates. But, he said, he'd like to see the platform's policies and algorithms be much more open and accessible so that people can critique it and raise questions. He said that if a tweet was altered in some way, there should be information attached to it explaining why. Twitter does already attach links to its policies when it removes or labels posts that violate its guidelines. Generally, Musk said, timeouts are preferable to permanent bans. He said another top priority would be ridding the platform of spam and scam bots. So that is, as we've said, it's only been a few hours since this news broke. But all indications are that there's going to be a dance back and forth over, is this really the highest price? What would the terms be? How is the deal going to be financed? Elon Musk is very rich, but he doesn't have, $40 billion in the bank. He would have to sell Tesla stock, or he would have to find some major financing package. Musk has indicated that he's actually not particularly interested in owning 100% of the company, that he's interested in taking it private, meaning that it isn't publicly listed, but that it could have other owners in addition to him, up to maybe 1,000 other owners, he was suggesting. So I think we're at the beginning of a process here. We don't quite know how it's going to play out, but its public presentation of how it's playing out is going to be very much colored by perceptions of, is Twitter censoring too much, censoring too little? Where does Elon Musk fall in the, this current ever-changing Overton window of what's acceptable to say? And of all business acquisitions, this is going to be a pretty politically charged one in the way that people discuss it.
Well, yeah, it was from the beginning. I saw pundits were the first people to come forward. Twitter employees threatened to quit, and there were people like Robert Reich who, said that Elon Musk is behaving in a, like a dangerous fashion by allowing free speech and all that. But I don't think that stuff is really the most important takeaway. I know that that's going to happen because this has sort of like been the main issue that most people, I think, have with social media, is that, there is censorship, there are fact checkers, there's all these things going on that act as controls. A lot of them tend to be arbitrary. For example, Susan Wojcicki, who runs YouTube, they have sexually explicit material on the platform that is aimed at teenagers from a channel called amaze.org that, creates these sort of sex education cartoons. But if you do content where you discuss things like, the sexual abuse of men, you could get censored, demonetized, and get a community strike. We did at Honey Badger Radio. We got it yesterday for that very thing. We were talking about, and I think it's because the rules are not applied evenly, and there could be, political reasons for it, or at least ideological ones. But I think the idea that Elon seems to, and I don't know what his real intentions are, seems to be doing this for the purpose of bringing free speech back to the platform. But I also think, because he's not a slouch in the, creating, taking like lemons and making lemonade, when it comes to businesses, I think he knows that if Twitter is more free, it will be more successful, because it's been on a steady decline for several years now, since people have been getting kicked off of the platform, and since, there's been a lot of suspensions. I mean, I was personally permanently suspended from Twitter years ago. And I didn't, and I mean, not that I'm overthinking what I type to make sure it doesn't offend anyone, because I think that's a fruitless pursuit, but I wasn't reckless. I used Twitter to make rational arguments, or to reach out to potential guests, or stay in touch with people who I like. So, and when you think about the fact that I think that the Twitter stock was going down in value for some time, because there was less interaction with the platform, because a bunch of people got banned, and then he comes along, probably buys it when it's, as cheap as it would be for him to do, and then offers a 38% premium on the cost to buy the company. I think that's a smart move. And also, I believe that the stock, or like the value of the stock of Twitter, is actually already going up, just based on the fact that Elon Musk made the offer. And now everyone's talking about Twitter, and investors and people are paying attention to this, right? And this is interesting too, because it's probably going to have another effect. And I think this is why the people who currently own Twitter are in this, all hands on deck mode. I wouldn't call it panic, because I don't know, but they're all like thinking, we got to talk about this. This is big. And I think there's another good reason for that, because if Elon buys Twitter, let's say he gets the company, and then he does something like, as his first act, he says, well, I'm going to restore all of the suspended accounts that, maybe if they weren't suspended for reasons, like if they were suspended because they offended someone, as opposed to maybe they made a death threat or posted something, really vile, like child pornography or something. I'm going to restore all the other accounts that are just, people being mean online or whatever. And then people start coming back to the platform and they start using it. And then Twitter stock goes up again and it starts to increase in value and more people return to the platform. I think that other investors in other social media companies will be looking at that and they'll be saying, I think we need to do something like this because this is working. And it just comes down to the money, right? It just comes down to how successful is a platform. So I'm not even making, say, a political argument. I know that even like within the company, there's another thing too that I was thinking about. You have like the engineers, the coders, the people who, make the program work and just do the functions. And then you have the sort of trust and safety council, the people who monitor and decide who stays and who goes, right? Well, the trust and safety people are the ones that are, I believe, they're the ones that are most upset about the possibility of Elon Musk coming and taking over Twitter and making it a free speech platform, because for one, they're going to be less necessary because they won't have as much to police. And two, I think that they do have ideological reasons for wanting to curate Twitter, just as there are people who do that for Facebook or YouTube. But the programmers, the people who like just make the site run, they probably not only do they likely not care that much about what's on the platform, but it's probably less annoying for them to work at a platform where the standards are constantly changing, with regards to what's acceptable and what's not, because every time they change something, it's the coders and engineers that have to go in and change the code, change the, the bots, whatever it is they're using, the algorithm, so that they wouldn't have to do that as much. So, and that would cost the company less money because they wouldn't have to pay as many people. So there's a lot of other effects that might come of this, and I know that's, I don't know how that fits into what makes a Roil special, but I'm sure that you'll, clarify that. Maybe there's some way that, like, if people really like Twitter, it could be integrated, or something. I'm not sure. So, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah. So it is really fascinating. The illustration here of how the network effect monopolies and their walled gardens, that just what the value is there. I mean, so $43 billion is what Musk is offering for Twitter, right? And what is Twitter? It's not much as an app.
No,
I mean,
not much.
Who am I to criticize it? It's beautifully programmed app, very professional, whatever. Okay. But from a technical perspective, lots of similar apps exist. It's not difficult to create. The value in Twitter lies solely in the network of users and their willingness to confine themselves to a walled garden. So the principle of Roil is that you want to post something on Roil, it'll be available on Roil. It'll also be available broadcast via RSS to anybody on the internet that wants to see it through any kind of RSS agent. It is not a walled garden at all. And it's amazing to me the trade-off that people will say, okay, I want access to the audience on Twitter, so I'm willing to confine myself. Like, I'm going to work really hard and think of interesting takes and publish it just to this walled garden, and basically contribute my own value towards this $40 billion pile that is right now under the control of the people that run Twitter. Maybe in the future will be under the control of Elon Musk. And it's just not necessary that you would confine yourself. Now, Twitter does not support RSS. Okay, Twitter is a walled garden. The only way you can be aware of what's going on Twitter is if you live on Twitter. Okay, you have to be spending your time there. Okay, and the whole philosophy of Roil is no walled gardens. You can pay attention to many different sources all over the internet without having to live on their site. And if something interests you, then you visit their site to check it out, and then you sort of go back to being able to scan broadly. And there's a video that I have pointed people to in the introduction to this, where I lay out the reasons why the technological, the legal, the economic landscape does tend us towards these post and share platforms, and how post and share descends into monopoly inevitably. And so we've seen that with Twitter, that other competitors try to arise, but the network effect, everyone wants to be where everybody already is. And so that's very difficult to overcome. And the only way that it will be overcome is if people take sort of ownership of this question and decide, look, I don't want to belong to one platform where I'm committing to, look, I'm going to spend all my time there because that's the only way I can find out what's going on there. B, I'm developing my following that's just there and is subject to the whims of the people that are running it, whether they want to promote me or unpromote me or whatever. And it's not necessary at this point technologically. Technologically, we have the ability, look, you create a Roil account, you can post on Roil. That is available not only in Roil, but all throughout the internet. And a platform like this shouldn't be worth $43 billion, right? It should be
Well,
some small sort of reasonable amount but the reason it's worth so much is that in a way they have their users kind of prisoner. The users have really no other option. And
there's that.
Unfortunate the users are continuing to opt into that.
Yeah, and there's also, it is like the place where the cool kids are. So, if you want to know what this musician is doing, or this movie star, or this writer, they're all there, right? Mm-hmm. So the problem is it's a two-way issue, because I don't think the average person who would be a user of social media knows anything about RSS. They don't know what the advantages are. They're not aware of them. They just know that they use Twitter because that's where, Ariana Grande is, or The Rock, or whatever. Just like the same reason why people go on Instagram or Facebook, because they know that that's where the people they like are, whether they are the people in their friend group, or the people, that they admire as celebrities or what have you. So it's hard to get people to leave the place where they believe everyone is, because what's the point in social media if you're not a part of a social group and you feel like you're on the outside? So not that this is possible, but maybe, because I've often thought about this, like, why isn't there, and there might be, I just never really looked into it because I've been banned from Twitter for years now, but maybe there is a way to send out posts that go to Twitter as well as other places at the same time.
Okay, so that's a good point. So there was a company, Power Ventures, okay, that mm-hmm. developed a platform on that basis. And the idea was, this is going to be a hub where you can check out your Facebook, you can check out your Twitter, and you don't have to live on their platforms. You can do it all in one place. And the problem is that these platforms don't want that. They want to protect their walled garden.
Of course.
And so they had their terms, and they used copyright law to go after Power Ventures, and they sued the guy that made it into personal bankruptcy. So they don't let it happen. And so when you look at Roil is limited. Like, Twitter doesn't support RSS. Twitter does have an API that you could go scrape and sort of turn that into an RSS type service. There is a existing website that Twitter, whenever they decide to, will shut it down. That does that,
Hmm.
but because it does violate the API terms of service, and so Roil technically could build something like that to sort of convert Twitter into sort of a RSS thing, but that would be leaving our back exposed to where if Twitter ever wanted to go after us, they could do what they did to Power, and it wasn't actually Twitter that had the suit against Power Ventures, it was Facebook, but could have been, same thing. And sue me into personal bankruptcy the same way they did with Power Ventures. And so Roil is very carefully constructed to just stay within the boundaries here. And one of the so the limitation there is that we're not able to show everything. Like we can't show Twitter,
Right.
and even for RSS, we can't show creative content. We
Right. No
like images
images. Yeah.
unless we get permission. So
Yeah.
the idea is that the model we've arrived at in order to avoid the fate of the Power Ventures guy is that we will initially show only sparse information. We do not show images because we respect all creators' intellectual property rights, and we will not show any creative content without their permission. But we can show you what you need, such as the title, creator name, and when it was released. The full experience is just a click away. And when the owner of the feed communicates to us, all right, yes, I do want to be getting my information out there, my images, etc. They communicate that to us, they give us permission, now we can show it. Within Roil, creators can claim their feeds and grant us permission to better showcase their content, such as including images. And that's as much as the law sort of lets you do without making yourself vulnerable to getting taken down.
Okay, so because this is the tricky part. Now I like what Royal has to offer, and I think that there is a lot of potential there, but it still runs into, at least right now, the problem of, if no one is there, then it's not like a social network of any kind needs people. Otherwise, it's not a social network. It might as well just be, like a Discord server or something.
Well, okay, now wait a minute. Okay, so let's. So Discord is truly social, right? If there's nobody there, it's like you're talking to the void. Okay.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah.
But
I guess
that's
an
not
unfair comparison.
Yeah, and that is so Discord is a post and share model, right? Just like Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, post and share. And so what that means is you have a bad cold start problem, that when the app first starts, you've just got like a screen full of nothing. Roil, fortunately, does not have that same problem as post and share. Because of RSS, Roil from the start has a vast library of content, podcasts, YouTube channels, and websites. So there's advantages and disadvantages. Roil does not have the same problem as post and share, that because we are just providing you the information you need to decide, look, do I really want to check out this item? We're not using any of the intellectual property, or like pictures. Because of that, we're able to start with a vast library of content. So you can go on Roil right now and follow so many things, YouTube, websites, podcasts, from all over the internet. It's extremely rich and full of content right now. What it doesn't have and won't have until it starts to catch on is users to comment back and forth with.
Yeah, that's
not the essential function,
Right.
That's right.
But what I was going to get at is that so in order to grow the platform and attract people to it, we have to reach out to them. And right now, the best way to do that is through social media. So you would use the existing walled gardens. It's like, you go to the walled gardens and then you pass out flyers, and then you hope that some people will come and see what's outside of that garden, right?
Yeah, totally. You can only spread the news where people can hear it.
You can only spread the news where people will see it. Exactly. So that's obviously it's a reality. But then that goes back to, like, whether or not this takeover or this purchasing, I don't know if I would call it a takeover because he's basically making an offer, of Twitter could be good for people who are still involved with, like you developing maybe like, I wouldn't even call it, I guess you could say it's a new way to use already established technology, which is the RSS, right?
Mhm.
And I think that I don't know about Musk per se, but I would guess, and maybe I'm wrong, but if he is pro free speech and wants to essentially like take the Twitter model and innovate, because I think he suggested doing that, like taking Twitter and innovating it in some way, that he wouldn't be as protective of competition or against competition, that he wouldn't allow somebody like you, for example, to make a Twitter account if you don't already have one and use it to specifically try and drive traffic to Roil. I don't know if that makes sense, but because we need to go where people are to get them interested. I think that we would want, social media platforms, the establishment ones that currently exist, to be open to that. And I would guess that right now, with the management it currently has, that would be a lot more difficult than, I mean, all I can do is speculate, but that's my guess.
The thing about Elon Musk taking over Twitter is, if that were to happen, is that you still have the monopoly problem. You
Yeah.
haven't solved that at all, right? You have a monopolist that maybe some people like more, maybe some people like less. And the thing is that is just not an optimal solution. And we're going to be caught in there as long as the way that things work is you post and share within a walled garden. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, I get that. But the issue is that it's like, if you think of it like, let's say Plato's cave, and everyone, and the inside of the cave is Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. You want people to see that there's a world outside of this, but you have to go in there first, right? So I agree with you. Like, Elon Musk might and probably would be a better owner of Twitter, but it doesn't change the problem of Twitter, which is like built into its DNA, right?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we are going on YouTube and other places and trying to promote Roil, and I don't foresee having a problem with that. I mean, it's a perfectly legitimate services, promote themselves on social media all the time. So I don't think that would be a problem. It is challenging in the initial go of Roil, where people have not claimed their feeds. And so all you're seeing is sort of well-presented cards, but textual cards.
Yeah.
When we're in an environment where people are just used to images. And I'll tell you what, if you use Roil for a few minutes, it'll become clear, you know what, the images are not contributing as much as I thought that they were, right? The title, the creator, when they published it, that's really the information that I want. But people are used to images. Or now it's even more extreme, where people are used to TikTok, where it's like full screen video, full screen video, full screen video, just as immersive as the platform can provide. And Roil is not able to do that initially, right? As people claim their feeds, then it can start filling up with more rich content, because we will have been given the permission by the people that created it, or the people that posted it, to display it, even though it is creative content. And that's it's going to just take some time for people to develop their awareness of that, realize, oh, okay, this is another platform here. I can have users. I can reach out to those users. It also serves as an insurance policy, in the sense of, if you decide to change your hosting location, let's say that you're posting on YouTube now, but you decide to move to Odyssey or whatever it may be, that you can, instead of, oh, well, I just have to start from scratch, at least with respect to Roil, I have to start from scratch at Odyssey, we'll say. You would be able to move your feed, move all of your Roil users from looking at your initial feed to looking at your new feed. For these creators, Roil serves as an insurance policy against the host where they post their content. If the creator chooses to relocate to a different platform for posting, Roil lets them bring their subscribers with them from the old feed to the new one. So it does offer those types of protections, and RSS as well. Part of Roil is just trying to get people used to this concept, trying to get people to demand this idea that no walled gardens. I should be able to share with the whole internet, not just the people who are on one particular app and subject to the whims and the terms and conditions that app applies. And that's not just censorship, right? When the app has monopoly power over you, they're going to be onerous terms. When there's ad sharing, it's not going to be favorable ad sharing because, hey, they're the monopolist, and so they can do what they want. So RSS puts power in the hands of the creators and the users and takes power away from the big tech platforms. And we just need to keep spreading the word and get people aware of this advantage.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Just decentralize, right? That's what it seems to be about.
No, but back to just the news of the day. Elon Musk is an interesting dude. So he, the idea that he would integrate the number 420 into his offer to take over Twitter, that is, corporate executives don't usually operate in that way. Now, here's what he says about it. He says that it's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know if you're familiar with that book, but part of the plot there is that this vast computer has been built to solve the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Deep thoughts. Do you have
an answer for you? Yes, but you're not going to like it.
It doesn't matter. We must know it.
All right. The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
42?
Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
And the answer that it kicks out is 42. So from Elon Musk, he's saying, no, it's not 420, it's 42, right? And his philosophical take on that from Hitchhiker's Guide is that what they're saying, and I like the idea, is that questions are more important than answers. That the joke of, well, the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42 is that, well, you didn't actually properly phrase the question. Like, it's not clear what you're asking. And so then, of course, you're not going to be able to understand the solution being something like 42, right?
Right.
And I think I hadn't thought deeply about that until I heard Musk say that, this idea that, oh yeah, that is really a neat flourish that they put in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because I think it's very true that in life, deciding what questions to pursue, deciding what questions to answer, that's really where the action is, and as you pursue those questions, you end up with answers, or you end up with learning, okay, that wasn't the right question, I'm going to change questions. It's interesting to see how Elon Musk thinks that way.
Yeah, it is interesting. I often think about the importance of humility, and that is to say, or at least agnosticism about things, where you can say, well, I don't really know about this thing. So instead of trying to be the person that always has the answer, I'm the kind of person that's trying to figure out what the best questions are. Because I think that I don't know, it's just something that I see as a diminishing quality, which is that, everyone on the internet wants to tell you or prove to you how smart they are, but um, they're not often asking the right questions, or at least questioning, the appropriate questions that we're typically giving these obvious, midwit answers to. So I like that as well, because I have read that book, Hitchhike. I also saw the movie, and I have been thinking about that for a while. And I think it comes down to humility. I mean, I don't want to get too deeply philosophical, but that's what I think it comes back to. The ability to say, well, I don't really know what the right course is, but I know that we should be asking more questions. And to do that, we have to accept that we might not know what we're talking about. So like, that's why we ask, So, but yeah, I mean, it is a funny way to like put, because I thought that was a weird price, too, and I didn't connect the 420 or the 42. Because I was like, well, I don't know anything about stocks. This goes back to, again, what I was saying, So, but then when now that you mention it, I'm sure that he crammed a meme in there because that's what he does. He likes, I think that might honestly be the only reason why he decided to buy Twitter, is that he wants to be able to meme about it, So, I mean, that would be pretty funny. And of course it does piss the right people off, which I also don't mind. So, but aside from that, I guess, like, we don't know much, like you said. I think it's going to be really interesting. It is exciting, and it'll make Twitter interesting again, at the very least, for a little while, unless of course they all turn him down. By the way, though, he did say in that interview on TED that he has a plan B if they don't accept his offer. Now, I don't know what that is, because of course he's being really secretive, but I guess we'll see. It's like I said, it's interesting. So.
All right. Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how this develops, and I think it'll develop pretty quickly over the next days or a few weeks. It'll be a really interesting development.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how it was timed to this happened just on the day that we finished the the video explaining the network effect issue and what Roil's trying to do to stop it, because there is no better example of a app where its sole value is in the fact that it, in a way, is holding all these users prisoner instead of being able to let the users communicate to the broad internet.
One last thing too, there is this very small group of people that thinks that he's only buying it so he can turn it off. So if that's the case, that'll work out for Roil as well. You can just jump right in there.
All right. Well, it's good to see you as always.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Thanks for watching. You can download the Roil app at your app store by searching for Roil Mobile or Roil Technology, or you can sign up at roil.com. We'll see you there.